Welcome to the Mystic Media channel. I'm your host, Ravina Rastaban, aka the Realist Astrologer. And tonight I am presenting part 2 of my video special on Phaedra parts. This part deals with Phaedra and Apollo's synastry. So before I get into their synastry, I just want to read from 2 articles that I found online tonight. The first article is from ebony.com and it states, former Real Housewives of Atlanta co-star Apollo Nida is seeking to nullify a prenup he signed with his estranged wife Phaedra Parks. According to TMZ, Nida is citing Phaedra's involvement in the show as reasoning for the change. The media outlet claims to have obtained documents that include claims from Nida about the couple's financial situation drastically changing for the better because of the show. Nida is pushing for the change to be taken into consideration when it comes to dividing the funds in their tense divorce. Phaedra's camp has yet to comment on the new development. So basically, Phaedra's divorce should have been finalized as of last year, but Apollo has since opened up this divorce proceedings again because he's trying to get her money from being on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. So basically what he's saying is since she's been on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, he's been on there as well. Their income has increased dramatically. So he wants a piece of that change. So this is Phaedra's response. Now that article from ebony.com was released on May 31st. So on June 2nd, Bravo TV posted a video of her along with a brief little article where it says, Real Housewife of Atlanta attorney opens up about her separation from the father of her children. As it turns out, Phaedra Parks and Apollo Nida aren't quite divorced just yet. The Real Housewives of Atlanta mom told US Weekly that there has been a setback in their proceedings. The divorce was finalized last year in July, so of course that obviously made me assume that I had regained my independence and a new start, she said in reference to the fact that the divorce decision was reportedly reversed back in March, according to US Weekly. So to be placed back into a position where I have to do it all over again, it's disheartening. But it's a process and I can't obviously change it. She added, of course we've made some motions that will hopefully speed it up, but it's basically at the beginning part of the divorce. Phaedra noted that having to continue to go through the divorce proceedings is very frustrating. It's very expensive. It's very emotionally draining and quite time consuming. As fans saw last season on Real Housewives of Atlanta, Apollo, who is reportedly currently in solitary confinement, has been romantically linked to another woman. But Us Weekly notes that the new romance does not void any legal ties to Phaedra. It's a very difficult process and it's unfortunate that it was overturned, but it is what it is, and so I'll go through the process again and we'll see what happens this time. Hopefully it won't take as long as it did the first time, she said. Apollo is serving an 8-year prison sentence for fraud and identity theft in New Jersey. Phaedra announced her plans to divorce Apollo in October 2014. Together they have 2 sons, Aiden and Dylan. So that's the latest on Apollo and Phaedra. So as you can see, Phaedra's going through it because she thought that her divorce was a wrap. She thought she was going to come out of this clean, but apparently Apollo is fighting back. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes down. Now, before I get into the synastry, I just want to get into Apollo's chart. Now, Apollo was born on November 19th, 1978. That makes him 19, 10, and a 1 in terms of his birth number. His life path number is a 10 and a 1. So he has that strong 10-1 energy. And as I said in previous videos about this number, 10 deals with basically where you're trying to ride the coattails of others in order to become successful. Oftentimes it's all about who you associate with, and oftentimes that person is looking to get on some type of gravy train. However, the downside of a 10 is it's easy to get caught up as a result of your association. So that's exactly what Apollo keeps doing. He has his Sun and Venus in Scorpio, and then he has a stellium in Sagittarius, Mars, Neptune, and Mercury. Now, his South Node is in Pisces, and that deals with his thieving tendencies, and these were brought over from past lives. As I always say, the South Node deals with past life traits and personality characteristics that you bring over from past lives that you need to try to reduce in this current lifetime. So with Apollo's South Node in Pisces, he's definitely living through his South Node. His North Node is in Virgo, which means that in this lifetime, he's supposed to live life according to the straight and narrow. He's supposed to be upstanding, and he's supposed to try to be orderly and try to do the right thing. But with that South Node in Pisces, it's very easy for him to be shady, to resort to thievery, deception, what have you, fraud, all of that stuff. Now, his Mercury is conjoined to Neptune in Sagittarius, so this reinforces his Pisces South Node since Neptune rules Pisces. So it's very hard for him to move away from that South Node in Pisces because he got Mercury conjoined to Neptune, and that just naturally makes him prone to be a thief, a liar, a cheat, makes him prone to be deceptive, makes him prone to engage in fraud. Mercury conjoined to Neptune also points to his relationship with his brother Everett and how they were partners in crime and they were scheming. It also denotes a brother who can be shady, deceptive, secretive, and who lacks boundaries. Mercury deals with siblings, so Mercury in Apollo's chart represents his brother. So like I said in part 1, I wouldn't be surprised if Phaedra and Apollo's brother has some type of thing going on, and I'm saying even sexual. And besides, Mercury is in Sagittarius. Apollo's Mercury is in Sagittarius. And if you know anything about Sagittarius, it's a very sexual sign. Now, Mercury, Neptune, and Mars are in Sagittarius. That makes up his stellium in Sagittarius. So he's a wild one. But however, with that stellium in Sagittarius, I would tend to think that he actually has more morals and ethics than Phaedra does. Now, his Mercury, Neptune, and Mars are in square to Saturn and Virgo. Mars in Sagittarius square Saturn and Virgo in particular, that deals with him not wanting to work for his daily bread. He believes that he is above menial work or employment in general. He's basically a renegade, refuses to play by the rules. He's lawless. And since Saturn is in Virgo, in the process, he easily gets caught up. So I talk about Virgo being one of those signs that can easily get caught up when they're doing wrong. So that's exactly why he ends up in prison as a result of his dirt. So he is one of those types, and South Node in Pisces deals with this too, where he really doesn't want to work. He's one of those men that wants to be kept. He doesn't want to have to, put in effort. He wants things to go easy for him. He wants to always take the easy way out. South Node in Pisces is very much about taking the easy way out, very much about not wanting to take responsibility for your own actions or your own life, wanting to be kept, wanting to be taken care of. So with that Mars in Sagittarius square his Saturn in Virgo, that says that all day about him not wanting to work. His Mercury in conjunction to Neptune and square to Saturn, that deals with issues with his brother, that could deal with betrayal, control. Now, he is in collusion with his brother regarding business deals, but it could also deal with them being like a tag team in terms of sexual trysts. Since Mars and Sagittarius are involved, Mars deals with sex. Sagittarius is a very sexual sign. So when dealing with his brother, it's even that much harder for him to walk the straight and narrow because his brother reinforces his criminal tendencies. Now, his Mercury and Neptune, they form a trine to his moon in Cancer, and that could deal with him romancing women in order to get them in on his schemes. So that deals with him getting with Phaedra and him basically benefiting from her wicked ways or her criminal tendencies as well. Now, with his moon in Cancer, that reinforces that South Node in Pisces and also that Mars square Saturn where he really doesn't want to work. He wants to be a kept man. A lot of men that have moon in Cancer, they're not really looking for a mate, they're looking for a mother. Now, he also has Venus in Scorpio, and it's opposing his Chiron in Taurus, and that deals with getting money via unlawful or unusual means, and it can also deal with being in a relationship of convenience or a relationship that has a hidden agenda. This aspect can also deal with his inclination towards being in an open relationship. Basically, this aspect makes it very hard for Apollo to be in a monogamous relationship. And it also makes it hard for him to be in a harmonious relationship in general. It makes it hard for him to earn money via the legit way. And that's due to the influence of Scorpio. Scorpio deals with criminal tendencies, or just criminality in general. And Chiron deals with wanting to be the exception to the rule, wanting to buck the system. Now, Venus in Scorpio is forming a square to his Jupiter in Leo, which means that his judgment with respect to women is off. He often goes too far with women. He easily gets in too deep. And also, he has a very hard time being faithful. Monogamy is not his thing with that Venus in Scorpio square Jupiter in Leo. Then he has a T-square between Jupiter in Leo, Venus in Scorpio, and Chiron in Taurus. And that points to earning money via illicit means. And it also denotes getting caught up in a web of exploitation, crime, and manipulation. Now, when you talk about T-squares in astrology, there's always a missing leg in the T-square, and it deals with the remaining sign of the modality. Modality means whether it's cardinal, fixed, or mutable. So with this T-square, it's a fixed T-square. So the missing leg of this T-square is Aquarius, and Aquarius deals with truth. So he has a hard time being truthful and basically just being upfront, being open, and also being tolerant of differences. So he tends to just want to mix with people that are like him. So people that are maybe, manipulative, shady, criminal minded, or what have you. And this can also deal with trust issues, that T-square that he has. Now, his Eros, which is an asteroid that deals with sexual attraction, it deals with eroticism, it deals with what turns you on, is at the 10th degree of Scorpio. And that could deal with being into group sex or orgies, or being into taboo forms of sex, like anal sex. Basically, with his Sun, Venus, and Eros in Scorpio combined with that Sagittarius stellium, including Mars in there, he has a huge appetite for sex, and it looks like he will also use sex to serve his best interests. So when I say that, basically that looks like the type of hookup where he could actually play the role of a gigolo at times, or have sex for money, or use his sexuality to get money or to get over. Now, Phaedra and Apollo, their synastry. But before I get into that, I just want to say this too about that sexual profile he got going on. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if he's dipped in the homosexual waters a couple of times with that energy, and he has been in prison for extended periods of time. So, you always got to take that into account. But I wouldn't be surprised with this energy that he's working with, especially Mars in conjunction to Neptune, because Mars deals with sexuality. Sagittarius is a very sexual sign, and it's a sign where it's like, in terms of sexuality, it's like anything basically goes. You just have a large appetite for sex, and you'll get it where you can get it. And so Mars in conjunction to Neptune could deal with a person that lacks boundaries in terms of their sexuality, or they're very open in terms of their sexuality, where, they're willing to try anything to get off. Now, in terms of the synastry, what's very interesting is Phaedra's South Node is in Cancer, and I mentioned that in the part 1 of this video special. So with her South Node in Cancer, she wants to keep things very familiar. And that's one of the main issues with South Node in Cancer. It's this thing where you want to keep things in the family. South Node in Cancer also produces a mirroring effect, or where you want your partner, or you want the people that are in your life to reflect you, or to be like a mirror image of you. So that's why she picked Apollo, because Apollo, he's a Scorpio just like she is. And then both of their names are derived from Greek mythology. Apollo is the name of a Greek god, and then Phaedra is the name of a Greek goddess. Now here's the myth of Phaedra. Phaedra was this Greek goddess who fell in love with her husband's son. It was a son that he had with another woman. So even the Greek goddess Phaedra felt the need to keep it in the family. So I think that's very telling. And a person's name can tell a lot about a person. You can even break it down in terms of numerology. But it's very telling that her name is Phaedra, and the myth of Phaedra deals with her basically overstepping her boundaries and falling in love with her husband's son. Now, in Phaedra's case, Phaedra, Real Housewife of Atlanta, Phaedra, I'm speculating that she fell in love with Apollo's brother, keeping it in the family. So, also, their moons are entwined to each other. So their moons are in water signs. Her moon's in Scorpio. His moon is in Cancer. So that's another similarity that they have between the two of them. So this is all subconscious on Phaedra's part. It's not like she said, you know, I'm going to choose a man that's my exact mirror image or that can be very similar to me. Cancer deals with subconscious motivations or subconscious drive. So it's all subconscious coming from her part. So Apollo's Mercury, which can represent his brother, forms a conjunction to Phaedra's Venus. And this can manifest as a relationship with his brother. Sexual, mind you, since Sagittarius is involved. Again, I can't say this enough about Sagittarius. When it comes to a relationship with Sagittarius, more than likely there's going to be sex involved if it's like romantic, because sex is a big deal for Sagittarius. So with Venus in Sagittarius, Phaedra's Venus in Sagittarius, I can't imagine her basically, you know, not having any sexual attraction to Apollo's brother whatsoever. I think she had a strong sexual attraction. I would even venture to say that she was more attracted to Everett than Apollo. Apollo's Mercury forms a semi-square to her sun. That could deal with Apollo's brother being her man on the side. And it could also point to Apollo having a lot of dirt on Phaedra that he could use to tarnish her image. However, with the semi-square, he's hesitant to expose her due to that Scorpio sun she's working with. He knows how vindictive she is. Also, Apollo's Mercury is entwined to Phaedra's Chiron in Aries. And that could deal with a sexual relationship with his brother. But it also points to Apollo being attracted to Phaedra's Teflon persona and him benefiting from it. So remember in part 1, I mentioned the reason why she's able to get away with a lot of this stuff is that her Venus in Sagittarius forms a trine to her Chiron in Aries. So that makes her like a Teflon Dona. So Apollo took advantage of that. It also deals with Phaedra making it okay to have outside affairs, possibly. I strongly believe this marriage was basically like an open marriage where they could basically do what they wanted, see who they wanted. But I definitely believe that Phaedra was the one really wielding the most power. And then remember I said with Chiron, that's where exceptions are made. So she probably let him have his fun with other women or whatever, while Phaedra was able to have fun with Everett or whoever she wanted to have fun with. Now Apollo's Mars is conjoined to Phaedra's Venus, which reinforces their freak nasty lifestyle, but it also points to him being drawn to her for what she could do for him legally. And it also facilitated his desire to not have to work a regular job, to be lawless. Because, you know, with her Venus in Sagittarius and her being a lawyer, she knows the law very well. She knows how to get around the law. Apollo's Mars is entwined to Phaedra's Chiron, and this facilitated his lawless ways again. Also, he could be a renegade with Phaedra, even sexually. And remember, he's not built for monogamy. Now, remember when Kenya was trying to push up on Apollo during that season? I forget what season it was. But I think Kenya sensed this about Apollo and Phaedra, or maybe she knew it outright. And that's why she didn't see any problem flirting with Apollo. Now, Apollo's moon is in Cancer and is square Phaedra's Uranus and Libra. That could deal with a relationship of convenience where no love is involved. I strongly believe no love was involved in this marriage, and I'll get deeper into that in a minute. Basically, it could deal with a marriage where you're basically associates. However, Apollo also saw Phaedra as entitled to his entire life, including family maybe, talking about the brother. He also saw her as insensitive, cruel, and prone to switch up without warning. Also, with this moon square Uranus aspect, Phaedra depersonalized Apollo to the point where he was just an accessory or just an object. With this aspect, more than likely, she was very cold towards him. Apollo's moon formed the quincunx to Phaedra's Venus. It appears that he was not really physically attracted to her, so being with her intimately must have been a challenge for him, and it was hard for him to respond to her sexually, I would believe, with this aspect. And it can point to insensitivity on her part, also her being inconsiderate, crossing the line. It denotes a lack of trust. And also, it could deal with her throwing money up in his face, talking about, I gave you all of this and I could take it away. You better act right. You better, you better, shape up or ship out. Apollo's moon is in Synastry square to her Neptune. That could deal with, basically entrapment or her trapping him, him becoming imprisoned again as a result of her involvement. It deals with deception on her part and him basically being the fall guy. Also, his moon in Cancer is in square to her Chiron in Aries. So this definitely shows that she was calling the shots in this marriage while he was the house husband. Phaedra did as she pleased in this relationship and she ruled over Apollo with an iron fist. It can also deal with Apollo being very insecure as a result of Phaedra's sexual proclivity. Also, Apollo's Mercury is in semi-square to Phaedra's Jupiter in Aquarius. This points to Phaedra's legal connections that caused her to skate by while Apollo gets caught up. Apollo can't speak his truth without major repercussions. It also points to Phaedra's sense of entitlement to Apollo's mind, his daily life, his every move. He could barely get a word in, and often his ideas, plans, and opinions were dismissed by Phaedra. She tried to wield total control over his mind, and basically, she didn't respect him at all. Apollo's Venus is in square to Phaedra's Jupiter in Aquarius. That could deal with a relationship of convenience again, where Apollo is being exploited. Also speaks of legal issues between the two of them. And Apollo's Mars is conjoined to Phaedra's Neptune, and this facilitated his thieving inclinations. This Mars conjoined to Phaedra's Neptune also echoes the aspect in his natal. And it shows that she was able to fulfill his sexual fantasy. So that could deal with her, saying, okay, I'm going to look the other way while you screw this person and you screw that person. Or she could have brought women to him, or, they could have had threesomes, orgies, what have you. Just a few more. Apollo's Uranus is conjoined to Phaedra's moon. That could deal with an unusual relationship, an unusual connection, a relationship of convenience again. And him being able to fulfill his sense of entitlement by getting with Phaedra. Also, Apollo's Pluto forms a sextile, which is a positive aspect of Phaedra's Venus. That facilitated their crime partnership. Also speaks of an open marriage or relationship. A few more aspects. Apollo's North Node in Virgo forms a sextile to Phaedra's Mercury and Scorpio. So in this lifetime, he's supposed to learn how to plan, organize, categorize, and be efficient. Now, that stolen car scheme and other fraudulent schemes helped him embody more of these Virgo North Node traits. But since it was an illegal business, he got caught up. So through dealing with Phaedra, he was still able to embody a lot of the traits of the Virgo North Node. Because even to be a criminal, you got to be on your square. You got to be disciplined. You got to be organized. You got to know how to, you got to have a routine down and all that stuff. Virgo deals with routines. So being with Phaedra actually enabled him to rise to the challenges of his Virgo North Node. He just went about it the wrong way, through the criminal way, and that's how he got caught up. Apollo's North Node in Virgo is in square to Phaedra's Venus in Sagittarius. He's supposed to follow the straight and narrow in this lifetime, but Phaedra's law practice made it very easy for him to revert back to his old Pisces South Node thieving ways. She basically set the table for him, and all he had to do was show up, ready to eat. However, due to her Venus also squaring his Pisces South Node, she also had him trapped. She had him wrapped around her little finger. So basically, this is where she could pretend that she was the legit, moral, ethical one while deflecting blame onto Apollo, who already served time for criminal activity. Basically, he was a perfect scapegoat for her. And then there was another one I wanted to touch on real quick. Apollo's moon is in square to Phaedra's Uranus. Did I talk about that? I think I did. About the relationship of convenience. And I think I did. I talked about the depersonalization. That one is very big. When a person's Uranus squares another person's moon, a lot of times the person who is wielding the Uranus power is not treating that person like an individual. It's not treating that person like they're actually human. It's like they're using them as an object, and that way they can quickly discard them whenever, they feel like they're no longer useful. So Uranus deals with depersonalization, especially when it's in square to the moon. So that's exactly how she was treating Apollo. So I did a tarot reading about the two of them because I wanted to see what Apollo's reasoning was for getting with Phaedra. I wanted to see if it was love on his part or opportunism. So let me see. Okay. So how he saw himself in the relationship, that is the Four of Swords. Four of Swords is basically him not wanting to work, him wanting things to go easy, him looking to be led, him looking to be kept. And basically that shows that he was in prison, and here comes Phaedra with, this scheme, and she's, presenting this to him like, look, I could get you out, I can help you out, look, I'm digging you, blah, 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 blah. So with that Four of Swords, he didn't put up any resistance. He was like, sweet, this seems like a walk in the park. Hell yeah. Now he saw Phaedra as the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is a card that is associated with 10 numerology. Basically, it's about riding someone's coattails. Opportunity knocks. So Phaedra presented this opportunity to him, and he took it. He rolled with it. So he was riding her gravy train. So the fact that he sees her as the Wheel of Fortune lets me know that this had nothing to do with love, attraction, none of that. It was nothing but a business opportunity for the both of them. What he wanted out of this relationship, Seven of Wands, that's the getting over card, or being on top. How Phaedra saw him. Phaedra saw him as the Queen of Cups, which is very comical in my opinion, and to me that speaks of his moon in Cancer, because Cancer deals with women, deals with motherhood, deals with femininity. A lot of men with moon in Cancer, they are more feminine than man say that would have moon in Aries or moon in Leo or whatnot. So a man with moon in Cancer, number one, he's very receptive. Queen of Cups is a very receptive card in tarot. He's malleable. She might have even seen him as weak and pliable. And if you really pay attention to Apollo, he definitely gives off that air of a man that wants to be kept, a man that can be kind of soft, and a man that's easy to exploit. So she saw all of this in him. Now, his problem in this relationship, marriage, is strength. The strength card. That's her wielding control over him. That's her finessing him. That's her basically holding the puppet strings. And his strength was the King of Pentacles. That's money all day. He was all about getting those coins. He was in a secure position because he was married. He was living the good life. And the outcome is the Ace of Wands. Now that's very telling, and to me it speaks about him going back and reopening the divorce proceedings, saying, hey, I know I signed this prenup, but during the marriage, Phaedra and me, we really came up because of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, so I'm entitled to some of this money. So, and that also speaks about Apollo's Uranus conjoined to Phaedra's moon. That's that entitlement to what she had. So, yeah. He's not walking away from this just empty-handed. And I'm not surprised because, like I said, he's the type of man that wants to be kept. He's the type of man that doesn't want to work for anything. He wants life to be easy. So he'll even take the criminal route in order to ensure that he doesn't have to work hard for anything. But as he's learning, the easy route is not what he's supposed to be taking in this lifetime. With that North Node in Virgo, he's supposed to be about work. He's supposed to be about duty. He's supposed to be about serving others, but he's not doing any of that. So if he doesn't straighten his act up, he might, once he gets out of prison, he might be going right back. Because with his chart, his recidivism rate is very high. Especially with that South Node in Pisces, Mercury conjoined to Neptune, square Saturn in Virgo. He has it bad. So I'm not... In this whole marriage, neither one of them are innocent. They're both guilty. They're both shady. They're both shysty. And basically, this marriage was a match made in a penitentiary. So that's my take on Apollo and Phaedra Synastry. Let me know what you think in the comments. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for Apollo and Phaedra. I might continue on with the Real Housewives of Atlanta series. So let me know if you want me to start dealing with these other chicks like Candy and Portia and all these other ones. So we'll see about that. But peace and many blessings.